Here we go. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Kari Kwass. I'm with the Snohomish Conservation District. And tonight we are doing Living with Beavers. It's been a couple of years since we've done this presentation, so we're glad to bring it back. And today I can tell you that the beavers are out there in the wild. And Ariana, our featured speaker this evening, was putting in some notch devices, and she can talk about those later. But just a tool in the toolbox of how you can help work on potential beaver problems, but to keep them in place because they do a lot of good stuff for us and for our environment. So here's me. This was last weekend in Everett. I'm the community engagement project manager of the district. And so I do a lot of webinars, a lot of events. I work with city contracts and on many other different things, but nice of you to be here this evening. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, I'll be fielding those. So with that, feel free to put them in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. You can also write in the chat to us and we'll be able to respond to you there. And Ariana is happy to have questions come in at any time. So feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A and we will answer those as we go. For those that don't know what a conservation district is, we are one of 45 across the state of Washington. Ours, the Snohomish Conservation District, represents Snohomish County and Camano Island. We do a lot of free and technical site assistance. We'll come out to your property and help you with what you would like to do and provide some best practices so that way you can do it in a good way that's good for the environment, good for you. So we have a lot of information on our website and we do webinars like this, and we will always want to come out and just engage with our people around us. So that is why we're here. One thing for the city of Lake Stevens, and this webinar is sponsored by the city, thanks to them for that. We, in partnership, work on the I Love Lake program, and that you can just go to that URL, ilovelake.org, and find a whole bunch of information about your wonderful lake there. This year alone, we've done the Cascade Award, a detention pond awareness class earlier this year, lawns to lettuce. We're in the process of doing native plant buffers. We did a rain barrel painting event back in August. We do youth education, and tonight it's all about living with beavers. So we do a bunch of stuff for the city. So you can see that nice nod tree. Ariana will be showing some teeth later and why trees look like that when there's beavers involved. This picture maybe will be on a t-shirt someday, which we're pretty excited about. So pay attention for that. If you ever come to our plant sale, we sometimes sell t-shirts. So with us behind the scenes is John Stevens. He is a surface water specialist with the city of Lake Stevens in their public works department. He's here to answer any questions from the city's perspective. They have a full complement on their team finally in surface water, so really happy. He was out there with us today in the field too. So if you have any questions on beavers, you can always reach out to the city and then they'll either get back in touch with us or just reach out directly to Ariana. So with that, here is Ariana. She's a habitat restoration project manager at the district, and she definitely has been working with beavers for several years. But before that, she was also working on our AmeriCorps through the Washington Conservation Corps. So she has a lot of field experience, and I can tell you she was in it today in the water and doing this stuff, and very knowledgeable about what we can do to make it so the beavers can live with us, we can live with them, and why they're so important to our ecosystem. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Ariana.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'll share my screen here real quick. Yeah, so before we get started, I just want to thank City of Lake Stevens for hosting this. And we also did this in partnership with Department of Ecology. We have great funding through them to do coexistence on private lands as well. So a little more about me. Yeah, as Kari said, I was out in the field and I currently am the Habitat Project Coordinator, and I work out in the field with our crew a lot doing beaver coexistence and also just riparian forest buffers and increasing and enhancing habitat throughout. But we're here to talk about beavers today. So on the agenda, we'll talk about who they are, what they're doing, why you should care, and how Snohomish Conservation District fits in to all that. To start us off, we have a poll. We're curious about why you're here and what you know about beavers. So our first poll question is, have you ever seen a beaver?
You can ignore the untitled question below, but yes, have you ever seen a beaver?
And we'll go over some doppelgangers later to clarify if it was a beaver you saw or maybe something else.
I like the people answering the untitled questions. Thank you. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to end this poll and check out those numbers.
Wow, great. I'm excited everyone's seen one
Mhm.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Our second poll question is, sounds like you've seen a beaver. Where have you seen it?
Yeah. And in this case, go ahead and just put that into the chat. I'll read that off. Do you have a pond by your house or somewhere by a park or? And the wetlands behind their property.
Great.
At a nature walk at Mount Rainier. Okay, with a ranger. That's cool.
Very cool.
Someone says they watched them in North Creek near Bothell. And
Yes, great.
yeah, we are addressing that today. Yep. In wetlands. Yep.
Yes, they love wetlands. They create wetlands, which we'll go over. Next question for you is why you're interested in this talk. And I'm happy to tailor my knowledge to whatever you're interested in. Beyond my slides, of course.
Same thing here. You can put that in the chat. Someone said they also have a pond in their yard. That's where they've seen a beaver. Like to learn more about nature.
Great. Well, we'll let those flow in. If you have anything else, Kari, feel free to shout them out.
Yeah. Oh, let's see, because the beaver presence is threatening properties within my HOA from rising water levels. Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah.
And they're cute.
Yeah, they are cute. Look at that.
A beaver is eating the person's apple trees.
Oh, yeah, they do love those apple trees.
Yeah, managing a pond to prevent flooding. Yep.
Well, I hope that you'll learn that we are a resource for kind of resolving some of those conflicts, which we'll talk more about. So this is a beaver. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit about what other things look like beavers in the watershed. Beavers live throughout North America. And if there's woody vegetation and water, they'll probably be there. They range anywhere from 25 pounds to 70 pounds. So they can get pretty big. But there are some things that look similar to them in our watershed. So we got this large beaver. We have nutria, which are invasive, and they have those orange teeth. They swim around in aquatic environments, but they're much smaller, only up to 20 pounds. And they have a very smooth tail compared to the beaver's kind of leathery, large tail. We also have native muskrats. They have those orange teeth. I've seen them in beaver ponds before, but they're small and very small, up to only 5 pounds. And they have, again, kind of a rat-like tail. River otters, also in similar environments, they love beaver ponds, but they don't have those orange teeth and much more sleek and move through the water a little differently than beavers. And a lot of times if people have mountain beaver problems, they blame our big beaver here for them, but mountain beavers are not in aquatic environments, and they're small, only 1 to 2 pounds, and don't look very similar, and they're not related, but they do have similar common names. So what are the eating habits of beavers? We've kind of talked about how they may eat trees, your apple trees. But they also love herbaceous material. They kind of are choosy herbivores, generalist herbivores. They'll eat whatever is available. So in the spring and summer, they'll eat those herbaceous vegetation. And then other times their favorite food, of course, is this cambium layer of woody vegetation. So willows, they love, as you can see in the picture right on the left, some of this vegetation will actually resprout after they ate it. So it's kind of a reoccurring food source for them, and it can survive even past a beaver chew. Talking about beaver chew, there is a lot of different signs of beavers. Here they've eaten, completely around, and then they're chewing through a lot of trees right there. And they're able to do this because they have reinforced teeth with iron, and they're rodents, so they are able to regrow these teeth and grow them to a point. Because as you can see in this picture and in my screen, there's a iron front plating and then a white enamel, which is then ground down by their bottom teeth. And so it comes to a nice point, and they're able to have a sharp point to eat their woody vegetation, and get that cambium and get materials for their dams and lodges. Yeah, here's a close-up picture of it in a live beaver. So very orange, very long, very able to take down those trees. So as I said, they eat that cambium layer, but they also use the material they chew down to build their dams. Dams come in many shapes and sizes, different styles depending on the beaver. Their sole purpose is to block that water, create a habitable pond for them to live in. They can be pretty messy. Even in this picture, it is a dam in there. So they like those messy wetlands. They like being able to create large wetted environments. They don't live in these dams, however. They live in the ponds that the dams create, but they live in lodges. These lodges are pretty large. They can be in the middle or the edge of a pond, and they look similar to those. Those are some pretty big ones on the screen. So this is kind of what the inside looks like. They create that pond so they can have an underwater entrance to their lodge, and that keeps them safe from predators, and enables them to have their own kind of home, their own lodge. They eat here, they store some food there for the winter, but they also raise their young in their lodge. So beavers are part of a family group. They usually a lodge consists, not always, but most of the time consists of a mated pair. And then those pairs will have kits every year that are, they can have 2 to even 4 kits. And those kits will stay with them until they're 2 years old. They'll learn how to build dams. They'll help maintain their dams and lodges. And then at 2 years old, they disperse. Beavers are territorial. So, they'll be fine with their kits staying around until they're 2. And then beyond that, they will not want other beavers in their territory. That's kind of my intro on beavers and kind of who they are. Next, we'll talk about beaver benefits, but are there any questions?
Someone had a question about whether or not they have back teeth.
They do have back teeth, yes. So they have molars similar to us, maybe, that they use to chew that cambium, chew up their herbaceous materials. Yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, they also have these front teeth that are pretty important. Another fun fact about beavers is that they have 2 sets of lips. So they have a lip, yeah, they have a pair of lips that cover their front teeth, and then they also have a pair of lips in between those orange teeth and their other teeth, and that helps them bring material down underwater without, drowning. And yeah,
Wow, that's very cool.
yeah, very crazy.
That's all the questions right now. Thanks.
Great, let's move on to beaver benefits. So here is a beaver pond. You can kind of see a series of dams probably. And before, this was likely just a stream that went straight across, excuse me, didn't have this connection to its floodplain, maybe. And beavers did all this. They're ecosystem engineers. They're adding complexity. They're changing the habitat to more wetland feature that changes even plant regimes. And they change that plant regime to their favorite food willows or cottonwoods that all love wet environments. So they're the ultimate ecosystem engineers. They build this aquatic habitat. They create snags that fall in, some of these trees may not like wet environments, so they become snags or fallen wood. That's great habitat for the stream environment and great habitat for birds that like dead standing wood. It's just a lot more wetted area, a lot more refugia and food. So birds like woodpeckers love those snags. Ducks love beaver ponds. Great blue herons love to hang out and hunt in these beaver ponds. Amphibians like frogs are able to breed and hatch from these wetlands created by beavers. As we talked about, river otters also love to hang out and hunt in these beaver pond wetlands. There's more insects because of the larger wetted area. And this also all means better fish habitat. Beaver ponds also filter water and reduce pollutants in them, and also reduce stream temperatures. So fish are happy with more food and better refuge. What about fish passage? So, these are dams, are in streams, and a lot of times they can get quite tall. So fish passage is a question that we want to talk about. A lot of times we have bigger fish going upstream, so they may be able to use that pool downstream to jump over the dam. And other times small fish juveniles are going downstream. So they're able to kind of flow over the dam in high flows. And there's a saying that beavers taught salmon how to jump. They've co-evolved together throughout their lifespans, and they're both part of the natural environment. Yeah. So another way that fish are able to jump over those dams, and they're also able to benefit from the pond, like we talked about. So this is just a diagram that kind of shows how beaver ponds help water quality. Specifically, these ponds help recharge groundwater, and they because they hold back that water, they are able to have some stream flow available during low flow summer months, because dams, although they're amazing and hold back a lot of water, they're not completely perfect. Water will trickle through, especially during those slow summer months. So it really helps reduce that water temperature and increase the amount of water in the summer, which is great for fish, great for water quality. It also provides flood storage, so it holds on to that water and attenuates the flood, helps hold it back depending on how big the dam is. And yeah, that's all great for salmon. These ponds also increase sediment retention. As the water comes to the dam, it slows down and drops all of its sediment, or most of its sediment, down to the pond bottom. This allows for a better gravel downstream, which is great for spawning habitat for salmon. As I mentioned, beaver ponds clean up water, so that slow water allows nitrogen and phosphorus levels to be reduced in these wetlands. So just kind of to summarize, beaver ponds build aquatic habitat, which increases birds, mammals, fish, amphibians, bugs, and create great refuge for juvenile salmon. It also improves water quality for us and for salmon. It provides that flood storage, and it increases sediment retention, which helps spawn salmon. And all of this kind of means better ecosystem resilience, especially as we get into climate change. So this is kind of a historical flow of a stream throughout the seasons. As we know, climate change is changing that regime and making winters wetter and summers hotter here in the Pacific Northwest, which is not great. It really changes that flow. But if you add beavers, they can help change that by storing floodwaters in the winter for summer months. They can increase flows in the summer, and by reducing the amount that's flowing all the way downstream during the winter, they can kind of normalize this regime back. And this is all better resilience for our ecosystems, for our water. Yeah. So this is kind of just a diagram of what a stream may look like before beavers. Again, beavers build complexity and resilience, so they'll start by adding dams, and then eventually we'll get into this complex wetland system with multiple dams, maybe a restored stream with a better water table, and we call them our restoration partners. So here at the districts, we've even used these things called beaver dam analogs to kind of mimic what beavers do and to encourage beavers to come back into a stream to help it access its floodplain, to increase that water table, to provide better habitat. So yeah, we're just excited to have beavers kind of model after or try to get back into the environment and especially retain on the environment. So that is kind of the benefits of beavers. As you may know, beavers also cause conflicts, so we'll cover beaver management. Are there any more questions?
There are some questions, but I wanted to wait until you got to the beaver management section before I asked it.
Okay.
So Rob was asking, to prevent property damage, are they legal to shoot or trap?
On your property, yes, and John can chime in too if you would like. You are able to kill beavers on your property. You have to use live traps, and if you are going to hire out, you have to hire licensed trappers. We don't encourage that because it's a short-term solution. You may kill off those beavers in the area, your stream right then, but then beavers are all around again. They just need that water and woody vegetation, and they'll come in. So other beavers may just move in. So we really promote long-term coexistence strategies, which we will talk about.
A couple more questions. Those folks are on the Pilchuck River, so they're partially responsible for debris dams, and they don't want to lose any more land. So please take ours to an area that lacks a beaver population. Are there any areas that lack beaver population, Ariana?
Yes. Well, yes. So the Tulalip tribes, and we'll talk about this too, has a trap and relocation program, and they take your nuisance beaver and they're licensed to do this, to relocate them where where beavers are needed. And that's in like the really upper watersheds of the Snohomish. But yeah, again, it's a kind of another short-term solution where other beavers may move into your property. But it is something we connect some landowners to if we can't find a coexistence strategy.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, somebody commented that they removed some beavers live, and then within 2 years they were back. So trying to work with them. So there's more questions in there, but I'm going to let her run through this section because we may have some answers.
Great.
Thanks, Ariana.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, beavers cause issues. They cause flooding of maybe your property, your roads. They take down your trees, your apple trees, and maybe cause even hazardous trees. So all of these are kind of tied back to some of these main beaver conflicts. So tree chew, again, they're chewing down those trees to eat and to have material for their lodges and dams. They love culverts. It's a great pinch point for them to dam up. So they block a lot of culverts, which is not great for your road. And then just they're creating that aquatic habitat, which may not have been aquatic before. But there are solutions. So like we just talked about, there are beaver trapping and relocation. It is legal to trap and kill, but you have to use live traps. The Tulalip Beaver projects, again, takes those nuisance beavers and takes them to hydraulically impaired tributaries in the upper Snohomish watershed for better fish rearing habitat and water storage. It's a great restoration strategy. The program is very cool, but it is short term, like we just talked about. So let's talk about some in place longer term strategies for beaver conflict. For tree chew, this tree got chewed down from December into March, and it was gone. So just in 4 months, they can do a lot of damage. So you really want to pay attention to your trees and reach out for assistance, or install some tree fencing, tree wrapping. You really want to make sure your tree wrapping is tall. As we talked about, beavers are big. You want it at least 4 feet tall, and you want it pretty sturdy. So we put those wooden stakes there to hold it up along the tree. And if you do it right, this really prevents beavers from getting to that tree and chewing it down. Culvert blockages, again, they love those culverts. We have something called exclusion fencing that we can put in streams with the proper permits to remove that blockage and then exclude the beavers from getting back in to the culvert. This is pretty effective. You use fencing so that the beavers can't swim through it, and you make it wider than the culvert is to increase the area that they would have to dam up to block flow. General flooding, we also have solutions for that. More flow devices. Previously, we really liked using these pond levelers, which allowed water to flow through a pipe across the dam. But there's been some questions recently if that is really fish passable or not. So as John, Kari, and I know from today, there's another flow device that can help called a notch exclusion fence, where you notch the dam and put exclusion fencing similar to that culvert exclusion along the dam to keep the beavers out of that notch. And they can build up the sides of the dam, but water will flow through the middle and keep that water level low enough to avoid flooding your property or your road. Yeah, you do have to get permits for it, but we at the district are here to help walk you through that or talk you through some solutions. Again, tree wrapping, exclusion fences, flow devices are all great things that we are here to provide technical assistance for, and even cost share in some cases. We can come out to your property and assess your beaver problems. We can help you with permitting, we can help you get materials, and we may even be able to help you install these flow devices or tree wrapping. And as Kari talked about at the beginning, the Conservation District can help with so much more. So our site visits are free, but right now in these priority areas, we do have cost share available. So we, depending on what we find at your site visit, we may be able to help you with a coexistence solution. So please reach out to us. Some resources that are great beyond the district, Lake Stevens, City of Lake Stevens, obviously, and then we have a fact sheet that is really great about beavers from Better Ground. Fish and Wildlife puts out a lot of great resources for living with wildlife. They have a great beaver one. And then there is a beaver restoration guidebook for those who want to get deeper into it from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That's all I had to cover now. I will say that there's a part 2 of this webinar in works. It could be an in-field, in-person neighborhood meeting in the Crosswater neighborhood of Lake Stevens. So check our website and Facebook for that. And I'll take any other questions there may be.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ariana. Going back, well, actually, one positive comment, the big exclusions you were just showing, somebody said that looks like the way to go. So I would encourage Jim, reach out to us, because maybe we can help you get on that process for a permit to get that done, if that would be helpful. There's another question about, is it legal to remove a beaver dam that is blocking the outflow of a body of water?
No, so in order to do any in-stream work, you do need a permit from Fish and Wildlife. It's called a hydraulic project approval. It is free, but it does have some review, and that really makes sure you're not damaging the stream and you're allowing for okay fish passage and health. So they do have emergency HPAs if you know an emergency is happening. So that's just a number you call and you can talk to them. Okay. But that's Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah, and then somebody said, well, same thing. Specifically, they have an issue with Lake Bryant not draining and they are losing land.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Lake Bryant, but you should reach out to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Jim asks, have you worked with a lot of different notch fencing designs?
Yes. So as Kari mentioned, I've been in beaver work for a couple of years now, and they've changed a lot. We've learned a lot from camera trap footage and also just managing the devices ourselves on how to better design them. Like I said, we did do pond levelers, but those are not permitted very much anymore. So we have gone over to notch exclusion. Does that answer your question?
I think so. If it didn't, please put it in there, Jim. And then, yeah, he says, thank you. I'm working under a permit, but the notch fence design is an ongoing process.
Yes. It's a lot of adaptive management, kind of seeing what your beavers are doing to the fence and then adapting. And feel free to reach out to me if I have any tips or tricks that can maybe help you. And
watching her work today, she probably does. And then Beverly says, when and where specifically is the second meeting near Crosswater? Do we know yet?
We do not know yet. I think it's in the works, but we are working on it. Yeah, you can reach out to me and I can try to let you know when it might be, or just keep an eye out on our website.
Yeah, and I would encourage people to sign up for our e-newsletter that we put out once a month. That'll be coming out at the beginning of November. And so likely it won't be in the next week. It'll be further out.
Oh.
So if you get the newsletter, then you'll have some idea. And we'll try and notify folks other ways too. So
Yeah, I think we were hoping for December, but I can't hold myself to that.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions, folks? Feel free to put those in the chat there and I'll get them to Ariana. I have maybe a quick funny question today. Did do the notch fence, or excuse me, notch exclusion fence today, and they had wolf urine or coyote urine.
Coyote urine.
Coyote urine. And what does that do, Ariana?
Yeah, so we didn't go over the predators of beavers, but coyotes are one, bobcats are another. And so this dam in particular, we were trying to deter beavers from building at, because it was high risk for a road and low benefit to the beavers. They didn't really get much space from it. So you can use urine, or the scent of urine to try to scare off beavers. So if you put it there, they might think, oh no, there's a coyote here. I'm not going to build here. I want to get away. Yes, I never thought I would buy urine, but I have coyote urine now.
There you go. I just thought it was strange. It's like, what? Here's this. Okay.
Yeah.
So another question is, how well do we work with the Snohomish tribes?
I would think well. So a lot of the restoration projects we do are part of larger scale plans that are developed in partnership with a lot of the tribes. I don't have any specific experience with them personally. And I don't know if they have as far to my knowledge, they don't have a beaver relocation program.
It's Tulalip who does.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else from the district has anything else to add.
I mean, we definitely work with Snohomish tribe on other projects like you just said, but I don't know specifically on beavers. So
yeah.
Okay, so bigger question. In the same boat with the wetlands just south of 16th by the Boys and Girls Club. Yep. We have water levels that have risen several feet, probably more over the last several years, and are now at homeowners' front steps. With the rain coming, we are seriously concerned about homes flooding as water levels rise above foundation levels. We all have sump pumps, but they can't pump anywhere because they normally feed into the irrigation field of the wetlands, but the water level is now at home level.
Yeah, that sounds like a big problem. We were just working along 16th today, installing a notch exclusion fence to reduce that water level and prevent flooding into apartments or home buildings. If you don't notice an improvement, please reach out. But hopefully you'll see one this season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, the correct question. Yeah, reach out to us directly and we will work with you on that for sure. I will say that as soon as you removed the notch in the dam today, John commented quickly that he could see the pond or the pipe on the other side. So it really did quickly reduce the height of the water when you did that work. So
yes, and we did that incrementally. So it's still probably draining right now, even though we're out of the field. So hopefully we'll see that change, and it will be prepared for more flow to come because it has a way somewhere to go. Yeah,
I don't think of beavers as being big climbers. I know that the fencing you put in today was pretty tall, or pretty high up. So realistically speaking, there's nowhere for them to get into that space.
Right. Yeah, they are not good climbers. They're made for the water. They have those web feet, that tail, that double coat. They love the water. So they're not good climbers. They are heavy, so they can try to knock down those fences. But we have put measures in place to prevent that. And City of Lake Stevens will be maintaining those devices we installed for them. So yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, on the ones like we just put in on 16th today, I will be out there tomorrow morning just to see how it's going, measure, see how much water we actually got rid of overnight. And with the other ones that Ariana did after I left the first site, that's going to help because they're all in one flow of the creek. And so when I took out one earlier this morning, I dropped 2 feet of water. And so now that water is going to be able to flow all the way right on and out. And hopefully this will take care of it. But yeah, we're going to be keeping an eye on it. I personally will be looking at it at least once or twice a week to make sure everything's up and going, and any maintenance needs to be done. Myself will be doing it, or I will have some crew members out there cleaning debris up out of them.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
it is, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the person said that they meant to go out and look at the work we did today.
Yeah.
But they saw the path cut through to the dam, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Yep. I'll be back out there tomorrow to do a little more cleanup.
Yeah, and beaver management is adaptive. So, we notched that dam as much as we thought needed, but we wanted to keep some ponding for the beaver. So if that proves to not be a big enough notch, we can go back and adjust. All under a permit, and all keeping water flows and rain in mind.
Yeah. Let's see, another follow-up. Additionally, some of the homeowners seem to have lodges built under their land, and we've had to fence off their land after someone fell through. We've been granted permission to install a berm, but are we allowed to do this working with DFW if it damages lodges?
Yeah, that's a great question. Beavers don't typically dig very much. So they will pile sticks on top of land and have a little burrow. So it could be those sticks caving in. If you're not doing in-stream work, I wouldn't say it's fish and wildlife you need to think about, but any area X amount of feet from a stream is a critical area. So you want to be thinking if you're in a city or if you're in Snohomish County, unincorporated, then you need to really think about your critical area code and what you're allowed to do in that critical area from that buffer, in that buffer from the stream. Yeah. Does that, I don't know if you're allowed to do that. But likely take some more thought into those regulations.
Yeah, Taryn, does that answer your question? Yes, thank you. Okay, yep. Great questions.
Oh, John, do you have? See him unmuting sometimes.
Accidentally hit the button.
Oh, sorry.
I also
Yeah,
say,
just to add to this too, if people that are watching this in Lake Stevens, feel free to give the Lake Stevens stormwater crew a call, and it'd be myself or Shannon, our manager, talking with you, and we can give you all kinds of info on how to get a hold of the conservation district, in touch with Beavers Northwest. I do happen to know a lot about this beaver stuff, and I can actually come out too and give you some suggestions, some pointers on what you can do, what you can't do. And it's really easy just to get along with them and keep it all up and going. And if there's other situations that you just really need to want to get going to trying to get rid of them, I can help you get in contact with the right people to help with, like the Toledo tribe, and with some WCO officers that can help out with the situation.
that's great. I will say John's very helpful because he also works with detention ponds. So some of you mentioned HOAs. If you have those on your property, and you happen to see a sign on a fence, that's in partnership with the district too. So we are trying to help with all forms of stormwater and all water catchment and groundwater and health and all of that. So you can reach out to either side of this equation and we'll be able to point you in the right direction as to who can help best. I'm not seeing any, wait, another question. Let's see. This is for John. I believe you've already been working with our property manager, Mary Lee. It sounds like there were a few different options for our homeowners.
Yes, there is. There's quite a few, and I'm hoping for what we did today out there, I'm hoping that's gonna really, really help out a lot. Um, I also had her in contact with Fish and Game for about the little holes you guys got going in the back. That is, we're hopefully we can get some permits up and going to where you guys can, get going on that and make it safe again for your homeowners there.
Oh, let's see. Okay. And then one more, yeah, from Jim. You mentioned that you were familiar with the North Creek beavers. Is that correct?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Okay. It says, my experience with the notches is that they work from the banks along the sides of the notch, trying to get to the front, and then they build up the floor of the pond.
Yes. So if I understand it correctly, yeah. So there's a couple ways that beavers can get around our notch exclusion fences. They can build around from the banks and just block our top of the notch exclusion fence. We, especially narrow stretches of creeks, which North Creek does have some narrow stretches, I think. So we tried to prevent that by making our devices longer, so they have to dam more. And we also try to adjust the width of them based on the narrowness of the stream. So like if it's a really narrow stream, we might make the device a little narrow so that they can't just build from the banks, but they also can't just plug it up from the sides. And then beaver dams, like we talked about, collect sediment, so it might just build up. And that's really adaptive management needs to happen. We need to be monitoring and maintaining that device and saying, okay, it's not working now. There's too much sediment. Do we need to extend the fence? Do we need to widen it? Do we need to make it more narrow? Yeah. So I'm not, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, follow-up question on the permit thing. How long are these permits active for, Ariana?
Typically 5 years, but they have provisions in them. So just because you have a permit doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. But it doesn't usually mean you can maintain your device. And you can also modify these permits so that if a new problem arises that isn't covered in your provisions, you can go and say, hey, I want to make this modification. I want to maybe do another device, flow device. And you can go through the review process more again and hopefully get it permitted.
Says thank you. It's a good job. Taryn says, wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate your help on this. That would be going back to the stuff off 16th and such. Another question about bringing back the beaver pelt trade, like Hudson Bay. I know, I think from previous presentations I've seen, we kind of decimated the beaver population in this country, right? I mean, do we have any idea of where we are with the return of beavers, Ariana?
Yeah, so yeah, we almost beavers were extirpated in a couple areas because of the that pelt trade. But we had there were a couple regulations that were in place and that allowed beavers to bounce back. So we're definitely not anywhere close to what there used to be population wise. But it's hard to get estimates for the area. But another problem about beavers is habitat loss. So beavers, besides, those upper reaches or really extirpated places that they haven't been relocated to, beavers are everywhere they can. If there's water and woody vegetation, they'll likely be there. I've seen beavers in storm, just like a puddle of storm water from a road. So they're coming back, but they're nowhere near historic levels.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Any more questions from anybody? I will be sending out some of the resources mentioned tonight in a follow-up email tomorrow or Friday as well. Feel free to reach, and I'll include Ariana's contact information in our Beaver page, so that way you can get to us as well as John with the city. So if there's any, you can reach out those different ways. And we will, I know some people have asked about that meeting at Crosswater, so I will, if you want to have notice of that specifically, go ahead and just put your email in the chat or at the end of the survey after this closes, and we will get back to you that way and make sure we let you know about that event. We'll probably post it on social media as well as our newsletter and the website. So yeah, but I'm not seeing any more questions. But if you
Well,
live in Lake Stevens, go check out what happened today. I mean, it's pretty obvious actually as you're heading up 16th now to see, if you look to the south. It's cool.
Yeah, check it out. We got some on 20th in Hartford as well. Yeah,
It was a busy
thanks
day.
so much for listening, everyone, and engaging. Great questions.
Thank you, Ariana. Great job. We will be doing another one of these in December for Bothell, but really just another chance if your friends missed it, I'll be sending out this recording, but then also we'll have another opportunity, specifically if people have questions that they want to ask like you have done, where it's pertinent to your area. That's nice. Then they can come to that one too. So lots of thank yous, Ariana. Great job. Now you can go have a nice chill evening after.
Yes, after a long field day.
Yeah, this has been very helpful. That's great. Good. Okay, well, thanks everybody for attending. We'll close this out now and I will send you the recording by the end of the week. So, and there's John with the sparkly lights. All right. Have a good one. Thank you. Have a great night. Bye.